I love, like, that's one of my favorite things about making art is the show, just trying to figure out how these puzzle pieces can fit together and how they read as art, how they look together, and then what they say in conversation with each other.
Welcome to the Red, Green, Blue podcast.
Welcome to the Red, Green, Blue podcast, or RGB podcast, as we're colloquially known. Please like and subscribe because it makes my assistant super happy. She's a really nice woman, and whenever we get a new subscriber, we notice it. We're pumped. Makes me happy too. We've had over 50,000 views in the past month and a half, but we would love to have more subscribers, so please subscribe. So I'm here with Kirk Richards, who is an amazingly accomplished painter. He is making a living at painting, which is really something. If you know anything about visual art, making a living exclusively by painting virtually never happens. End of story. And he's in collections all over the country, all over the world, exhibited in many, many locations. And he's more than that. To me, an interesting thing is he gets up every day and he's a painter. He doesn't go off and do something else. He's a painter and he paints stuff and he deals with he deals with patrons. He deals with people buying his work. He deals with the whole system, and he has to create because that's how he makes. He doesn't have the luxury of sitting around and waiting for the muse to strike. He looks at a blank canvas. He's like, what can I do with this? And that's actually my first question, Kurt, is when you're looking at a blank canvas, how do you start? Do you just start making marks or just pick a brush and just see where it leads you? Or do you sketch it all out first, or how does it go?
I've done it all those ways.
All those ways.
I think the more ways that you can enter a work of art or a painting or whatever, the more that kind of rounds out the other approaches.
Yeah.
So you're not kind of backed into a corner. You're not pigeonholed into one process. So I've used lots of different processes to attack a painting.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and that's, so just whatever you feel is working for you at the time, you just move through it. You're like, oh, well, there's something back in my sketchbook. I'll maybe draw from that. Or do you keep a sketchbook? Or
I do keep a sketchbook. I wish it was pretty. Like, I see people with sketchbooks that are works of art in and of themselves.
Oh, they're amazing sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah. Mine's sort of just a dump. It's just like a brain, like a place to leave stuff, notes that I can come back to later. So yeah, if it's a piece that I know, I don't know, maybe has a little bit more naturalism in it, I'll often sketch it out first.
Yeah.
But if it's something that I think I'm going to want it to be flatter, more modern, a lot of times I'll just jump right into the canvas. So sometimes it's about like, how do I want this to feel when it's done? But other times it's just like, I need to do something and I don't even know what I need yet. And I'll just start moving a brush around on the canvas and see what emerges.
Yeah. I think that's a good way of going about it. For me, I actually have a terribly messy notebook and note making. I always felt guilty about it. And then I saw Kurt Cobain's notebook. Weirdly, that made me feel okay because his notebook is an absolute mess. Like it's written, it looks like it's done by a third grader in handwriting. And it's like, oh, good. That's kind of like,
I haven't seen it, but that
kind of looks like mine.
That could make me feel less.
You should look it up. They actually published it even, but it's like, yeah, I was like, oh, good. Because again, it's like, I feel like when you're in art classes and stuff, they're saying like, we should keep a sketchbook, but the sketchbook looks like the final work. And I'm like, how do you do that? I have to be a mess.
Yeah. Yeah. I think if you know yourself and your own temperament, you can be nicer to yourself, be less judgmental. When I couldn't be a printmaker, for example, because it's so precise and so clean.
Mm-hmm. And if you make a mistake, you have to go back a lot of steps.
Yeah. 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 Whereas, or even a watercolor painter, I am so reliant on being able to just cover stuff up with opaque colors.
Yeah.
Make adjustments, fix stuff.
Do you use oils or you like acrylics?
Most of my paintings are a combination.
A combination, wow.
I'll start in acrylic, take it halfway, and then move to oil.
Interesting.
Yeah, it allows me to get a quick start. You know, the acrylic dries quickly. I can do washes, get the textures and things going very quickly, and then on that same day, put an oil glaze down and turn it into an oil painting. Whereas if I were to take those same layered steps strictly with oil paint, it'd take me several days to get as far as I can get in one day with acrylic.
Okay. Yeah. And oils is very, very time consuming. I mean, I think if you work purely in oils, you have to be an extremely patient person.
Yeah. I mean, one of the ways I am able to do it and not be a patient person is to have a lot of projects going at the same time.
Oh, is that what you do? How many paintings will you have going at once? And you just kind of switch and let it dry as in between steps?
50 paintings or something.
50 paintings, wow.
I'll just move from one to the next, work on it till I'm sick of it or until, the medium itself needs to dry so I can come back and glaze it later. So, yeah, depending on the day, I may work on 10 paintings or something.
Yeah.
That's a good day when I have discipline. Usually it's 3 or 4 paintings.
3 or 4. So again, that's actually a thing I find is, I mean, when you're an artist, like there's really nobody looking over your shoulder saying, hey, you've got to get this done now. Yeah. I mean, you may have a client, but you can say like, well, it's not ready yet. I mean, you can always come up with something to delay them sometimes. I mean, they may buy it for a while, but how do you keep from procrastinating? I guess that's the core thing, which is something every artist struggles with.
I think the biggest thing is I create my own deadlines. So I decide to do a show or I set up a show for myself in 6 months. I know I've got to have 30 pieces for it. And then I just bust my tail trying to get that work done for the show. And one of my problems is I don't finish things. So my shows are almost always full of paintings that are 90% done.
That is great. I mean, do you sell them in that state or do you say, look, I'll finish it up after you buy it?
Yeah, absolutely. I sell it in that state and I finish things up before I deliver them. So,
that is great.
So a lot, and then I end up kind of establishing a delivery date, which is my final deadline. Right? Yeah. Like I've got to get this done in order to bring it to this client.
Yeah. Or patron. I don't know what is the word we use in art? Art collector.
Yeah.
Collector.
I've used all 3 of those.
All 3 of those.
But I wish I was more disciplined to get them all done before. But so if you ever come to one of my art shows or if you see a post on Instagram or whatever, just consider that it might be 90% done.
Well, that's an interesting way to give yourself a deadline is you publish the deadline because then you have to have work for that show.
Yeah.
Because it's out there. You can't be just in your head like, we can do it next month. That's all right.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So even before I was showing in galleries and stuff, I would do, and I still do this, an annual studio tour at my house where we set up, fill the walls with artwork in progress. Mm-hmm. And it just pushes me to get that artwork as done as I can. Mm-hmm. But it's also kind of a low stakes way to do it. So I'm not like really stressing myself out. It's a good way to just say, but a lot of people are coming over to see these. How far can I get them before they come over?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, so what do you hope to, I mean, of course, like when you're selling work, you want to sell stuff in a show, right? But what do you hope to get out of a show besides selling your work?
Oh, I love a show just for the sake of it being kind of an art statement on its own terms.
Yeah.
How the works read within a context of the greater context of, the artworks around them, the theme of the show. So a lot of times I will set out creating a new body of work by looking at the space that it's going to show at first. I'll measure the walls. I'll kind of try to maximize the space. create things for a particular wall so that it fits, and so that it fits across from this other piece within the same gallery, you know, just trying to figure out how these puzzle pieces can fit together and how they read as art, how they look together, and then what they say in conversation with each other.
Yeah.
I love, like, that's one of my favorite things about making art is the show.
Oh yeah, really? That's interesting. Yeah. Well, and also you have a reputation that people come to your shows, probably look forward to your shows, and you have like regulars at your show and like, people who purchase things regularly, all that.
Yeah. Grateful for
and you put on your own shows. Like you basically operate your own gallery, don't you?
I do have my own gallery. And
are you represented by anybody else?
Yeah. So I do 2 shows locally in galleries. One of them is a gallery that I own, and one is a gallery that I've been heavily involved in the creation and kind of growth of.
This is one in downtown Provo.
Yeah.
Or is it Writ and Vision or something? Or what is its name now? It just moved locations, didn't it?
I mean, Writ and Vision, kind of the next iteration of that became the Compass.
The Compass, okay.
So I do a show every year at the Compass. I mean, this will be my 2nd year at the Compass, but if we go back to Written Vision days, this will, I don't even know, maybe be the 12th annual show or something.
Well, the new space they're in is fantastic. Yeah. I'm just excited a gallery can support that nice of a space.
It's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, and then I have my gallery, which is called JKR Gallery. It's a little bit less nice of a space, but it, you know, we have community art shows there generally, but then once a year I put together a solo exhibit.
Oh, really? So you exhibit other people's work then?
Yeah. Most of our shows are themed shows. So, we have a landscape show during the year. We have like a show on love around Valentine's Day. You know, just different themes that kind of are seasonal.
Yeah.
And our biggest show is called the Business Card Art Show. Biggest in terms of numbers. We've got like 100 artists or something, each making roughly 10 pieces. It's varied depending on the year, and they're all the size of a business card. So it's a kind of a small works show. And that's a lot of fun just to make affordable art and have a lot of people come in and be able to buy something for their house.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's good. And that's a hard thing with art. I feel that especially like you go to Art Basel and stuff, it's like to really, like the cheap stuff there is around 30,000, and then it goes up and there's stuff in the millions and even tens of millions that I feel like if you don't have a net worth over 200 million, it's kind of hard to participate in. Yeah. I mean, and so it's nice when like artists make work that other people, like people who are making like a normal living, which is everybody and they're wonderful people, can actually get. Yeah. Yeah. So that's really neat. So you make work for all sorts of levels of income.
Yeah. I mean, even when I do my own shows, I try to hit a lot of price points. So, you know, my larger pieces, I wish my gallery were bigger.
Where is it?
Just like the walls were bigger, right? Because I can fit, it's down in the, is on the Provo River where the old Maggleby's used to be, kind of the that park, business park there, or medical.
Yeah, it used to be like my pediatrician was there. So well, that's good. So it's turning into gallery space. That means it's headed up in the world.
Yeah,
but it's a really great location. I mean, being right next to the river and it's centrally located and everything.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that somebody's going to buy that whole thing up and create
luxury
mixed use condos and stuff.
Yeah.
But for right now, we're enjoying it. So, but yeah, so, in my shows, I'll have pieces that might be like 70,000 or something. And then go down to, my smaller oil paintings are, maybe very small oil paintings might be $600. And then I have works on paper as well that get down to, $100 or something. So hopefully most people that come, if they want something, there's something in their price range.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Well, that's good. So the other thing is, as I've wondered with painting, is like, so when you finish a painting and then you sell it, you never see it again. What is that like? Do you have paintings that you miss?
Well, I've been doing this long enough that people ask me about paintings. And I'm like, can you send me a picture? Because I have no idea what painting you're talking about.
Because you've done enough of them that you're like, yeah.
So and when I get the opportunity to go into somebody's house and they show me a painting that they bought 10 years ago or whatever, that's a nice feeling. Usually, usually I look at it and I say, well, because when you're making the artwork, there's so much kind of problem solving, and the problems don't necessarily all get solved. And so I'm usually ready to send that painting out and stop looking at it.
That's true.
But when I see it with fresh eyes years later, I can appreciate it for what it is, and that's a nice feeling. But yeah, I mean, there are some that I love and that I don't want to let go of, and every once in a while I'll keep something.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, a lot of mixed feelings.
Yeah, I think that's the same experience filmmakers go through. After they finish editing a movie, they usually just hate the movie. Yeah. And they're like, people to be like, wow, you liked it? And you'd be like, well, I'm glad you like it. But it's that irony of art is that when you finish the work, you really kind of feel like you're done with it. But that's when it begins for everyone else. Like that's when it begins for the audience. Yeah. And like with a book or a painting, you're going to live with it for another year of people reacting to what you wrote or what you made as a film.
The nice thing about a painting, or I think the way that I do it, is I just do enough that it's gone and I'm thinking about something new. Mm-hmm. I don't have to promote it for a long time. If somebody's buying it, actually, when I do a show and I put so much effort into the show, I get it up on the walls and then people want to talk about it, like you're saying. And sometimes I just want to duck and cover that month. I don't want to, especially if it's really kind of a vulnerable topic or something. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I just want to hide, but in terms of a single painting, a commission or whatever, sometimes I feel like I'm not giving the client, the patron, enough continued emotional investment in it. I'm just like, okay, here's the painting. See ya. Mm-hmm. I'm out of here. Don't want to think about it again.
Yeah.
And for patrons that spend thousands and thousands of dollars on a piece, I sometimes feel guilty that I'm not like posting more about those pieces or, just making a bigger deal out of it, because I am really grateful to those patrons. And also emotionally, I kind of want to move on.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and to me, it's a nice thing. This is a nice thing about being an artist in general, is that you kind of leave detritus, the right word? I don't know. You leave objects behind you and they go into other people's lives, and then people say, oh, I saw your book. I saw this painting. And you're like, you have like a vague recollection of working on and doing it, but it's been in their life and they've really liked it. And it's anyway, I find that amazing that something that you could have made 20 years ago is still out there having influence.
Yeah. That is amazing. Yeah. Sometimes it's cringy. Sometimes
it depends on how you feel about it.
Beautiful. Yeah. It just, it really depends.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, I guess it's funny. I mean, I've heard people, authors say this, in a book signing, during the Q&A section, a person said, by the way, you wrote this book, and I'm pretty tolerant on explicit sex scenes, but wow. And he was like, yeah, I know. I wouldn't write that today, but I did then.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't do it now. And so in a way you kind of end up apologizing for your past self. Yeah. I mean, because especially we all grow and make mistakes, but when you're an artist, you stick it in your art and then it's there.
Yeah. Yeah. And it, like you say, it can live on a long time, and it can experience a resurgence or resurrection, or, it can come to the forefront again. You never know what's going to happen with it.
Yeah. Yeah. As people have with social media posts. In 2007, apparently people did a lot of new social media posts they shouldn't have done 20 years later. That weren't looked kindly upon later. So when you sell a work, I mean, I don't know, like how, like, it's a thing in art. You just don't talk about money. It's like a rule, but it's like, it's part of the business. I mean, it's what you do. It's how you make a living if you actually want to do it. But when you sell a piece, I mean, do you have like people collect a lot of your work, or is it kind of like you sell a piece and then they're happy with that one piece and then they kind of get another piece somewhere else? Or do you have like,
I think it depends on the collector. I mean, I think there are certain galleries that have a stable of collectors, and the collector will get, maybe 2 or 3 pieces from each artist in that gallery. Mm-hmm. And then, so sometimes when you start with a new gallery, you kind of have this wave or surge in purchases, and then the momentum can kind of die out a little bit once they
work through their established client base.
Have 2 or 3 of your pieces. I'm lucky to have several patrons that just want to get 30 pieces, just they either want to fill their house, or, I don't know exactly what everybody's planning. Maybe some people are planning to donate their collection at some point to a museum. Mm-hmm. But it's really great to have some of those patrons that are always like, okay, what's the next thing that you can make for me?
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, because then, do people, commission work with you? What percentage do you think is commissions? What percent of it is at gallery? I guess on spec, that's the film term for it.
Yeah. I would say that 10% of what I do quantity wise is commissioned work, but it's probably 30% of my effort and time. And
probably 30% of your income too, right? Because they're paying more for commissions than just... Or are they?
Yeah. There's a big gray area there, because a lot of times what happens is I have something begun, mm-hmm. and they'll see it on my wall or at the gallery or whatever. And then it becomes a commission once they say, I want you to finish that for me. So there's a lot of kind of in between feeling on those kinds of things. But
if it's a commission though, you can justify putting more work into it though, because it's a sure sell. Right. Whereas like if it's on speculation, you're like, boy, I can't work 3 months on a speculative painting or else I'm not gonna be able to pay.
But also
feed my kids.
It just takes so much more effort to do a commission. Mm-hmm. In my opinion, like I can do 5 spec paintings with the same amount of energy that it takes to do one commission.
Yeah.
And that's because of like, there's this kind of psychological hold that a patron has over a piece. I don't have the same kind of liberty to make major pivots in the middle of the work creation. Like if I want to take it in a different direction. Mm-hmm. And so all of those things combine to make a commission just harder to complete than, even with a great patron that's like totally hands off. Mm-hmm. It's just harder to complete than a spec painting. So, what was there's something else I wanted to say about that. What was your question again?
Oh, like can you put more work into a commissioned work as to a speculative painting?
Yeah. Yes. Oh, I was going to say that oftentimes when I start out, like when it's a commission from the beginning, mm-hmm. I'll go to somebody's house, measure the walls, talk to them about what they want. And then I will do several mock-ups of different designs, different compositions.
Yeah.
Have them choose something. So that's extra work that I'm not doing for spec paintings typically. Yeah. Although that extra work leads to additional spec paintings because I've got these other designs that aren't chosen that I can do, work I can create on my own terms. But there is extra work there in preparing them with options.
Yeah.
The reason that I do that is to give them input choice on the front end so that I can create space for myself to make the piece on the back end and have less kind of, managing by the patron.
Okay. Interesting. There's a great scene. I mean, I'm not going to I don't know. Have you seen The Square it's a Swedish director. It won best film at Cannes. No. Anyway, it's about a guy, the director of the museum, Museet Modena in Sweden. I mean, ostensibly, it's their Swedish Museum of Modern Art, and about him navigating the art world. And the opening scene is them ripping the head off of a bronze sculpture and installing a light wall of a king, and then installing a square light to replace this ancient historical amazing bronze sculpture. Okay. And it's kind of about the absurdities about the modern art world and so on, and living in it and navigating it. Because it is. I mean, the modern art world is crazy. It kind of is. My high school art teacher, he took me aside one day. He's like, Mark, you seem like you might actually do this. So I'm going to tell you this. I don't tell most people this. Just so you know, like, the art world's really weird. I'm like, really? He's like, yeah, it's weird. I mean, for me, it's pretty normal.
Was that one of my art teachers?
Lynn Poulter.
I never had him. Yeah. He lived in my neighborhood.
He's a fantastic guy. Yeah. He was really one of the best people I've known in my life.
Jed Wells, have you had him on here?
No.
Jed talks about how Lynn Poulter said something that really launched his artistic thinking.
Oh, really? What did he say?
He said, as Jed relates it, he says he brought in a photo or something for a homework assignment, and Lynn asked him about it. What's artistic about this? How did you? And I think that Jed kind of slapped it together. Mm-hmm. But the way that I remember him relaying the story is that Lynn said, you can have somebody stumble into a gutter and it's not art. But when you have 3 people stumble into a gutter in sequence or whatever, then it becomes art. And I think the idea was like, how do you take this from ordinary into poetry, in some way? I think that was kind of the takeaway. It can be ordinary, but also how do you make it poetry?
Yeah, no, he was a really interesting teacher because I think in a way this was to his benefit. His career was in sculpture and he had gallery representation, and he made a living primarily selling decorative doorknobs to large public buildings.
I had no idea.
I didn't even know that was a thing. Like, I remember when he told me, he was like, yeah, that's what I do. I know it's weird, but basically every public building has to have 2% of its budget dedicated to art. And in a way, doing fancy doorknobs is just a good way to fill that requirement for them.
I thought he just did photography in the yearbook.
No. That was his main jam. That was like what he did to just kind of like teach. And he said, like, someone needs to teach photography. Like, he really should have been Zupan. He was a ceramics guy. Like, he should have been him. Like, he professionally trained. He's really, really good at it. Like,
did you say ceramics?
Ceramics, yeah.
I thought you said samurai.
No, samurai. So maybe I did. He should have been a samurai. That would have been cool. Yeah. But yeah, but I do think that made him, he never felt competitive with his students ever in the medium. And with subsequent art teachers, I found particularly if you're doing well, that those feelings can get in and they get kind of conflicted. Like, wait a minute, why are your stuff looking better than mine? That shouldn't be happening. And like, it kind of messes with your relationship with them. Interesting. But that would never happen with Lynn because he was just always like, he had this whole great career in sculptures, doorknobs and stuff. And photography was something he enjoyed teaching people.
Is there a website or like an image archive of his doorknobs?
I don't know. They really are impressive. I don't know. He passed away about, I think 10 years ago, unfortunately. Oh. But yeah, he had a contract with Slag. I remember that. So, and again, for a high school art teacher, that's like astonishing for a high school art teacher to have gallery representation, contracts with major companies. In fact, I think in a way that's kind of where he's a good hands-off teacher too, because he would just kind of like, all right, guys, go get him. And then go in his office and work on his selling those things and stuff, his art.
Yeah.
So
Zupan was hands off too.
yeah. Well, I mean, I do think there's an advantage to that because like he even said like, he's like, you know, I used to do like lectures and stuff, but I just found it's better if you just like do it. And like, there's a lot of truth in that.
Yeah.
So he just created time and space. And with photography, you need the facilities because, you know, you can't afford a lot, you know, and larger and the facilities to navigate the medium and a tremendous amount. I mean, I should say this. This is a funny thing. Kurt and I were exhibited in a museum here. And I love this. Like it had some of my 3 Mormon Towns photographs. Kurt might not be, he had so many shows. He might not even be aware of this. Then it had some Kurt's paintings and then Brian Krasiznik, which is another major painter around here. And I was like, wow, 2 of these 3 people were from Provo High. Go figure. I mean, what are the chances?
Yeah.
Like of all the people, this is like a church that exhibits artists all over the world.
Was
and
this
me and Kurt were there.
In New York?
No, it's in the Church History Museum.
Oh, okay.
It was up for a long time. It was in the area in the basement. It wasn't part of any show. They just had them on kind of on permanent display down there.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. I didn't know about it either until my sister told me, like she went to the museum. So again, and said, hey, by the way, your photographs are up and looks like they're on permanent display.
Yeah.
Then they changed curators
really
and then they changed curators there and it got
That always happens.
The new curator's like new work now. But yeah. Anyway, so yeah. I mean, who was an influential art teacher to you in your high school years?
In high school?
Yeah.
I think everybody that I studied with, I mean, I had 3 high school teachers, McConnell, who spent she said, my only goal for you the first year was to get you to see negative space, to understand.
Oh, she taught studio art for a while?
Yeah.
Really? I took art history from her. Fantastic art history teacher. But that's interesting.
I think I had her for 2 years, and then I had Reese and Zupan.
Yeah, Reese we actually had on the podcast. You know, he won best high school art teacher in the nation.
Yeah, he's great.
He's fantastic.
He was just, I think that was his first year.
He was such a young, good-looking guy when he first showed up there.
So, yeah, it's fun to be able to do professional art shows with your high school art teacher.
Yeah, who you like, too. You know?
Yeah. And that whole time also I had a private art teacher. So I grew up in a musical family. I convinced my parents when I was about 14 to let me trade in my music lessons for art lessons. Mm-hmm. They found this man, his name's Clayton Williams. He retired he had a career of, I think he did sign painting for a while kind of in LA, but ultimately he became a high school art teacher in Hollywood. Yeah. And he had a bunch of his students had won a bunch of awards. He came back to Utah and just retired, and I'd go over to his house. He'd give me an assignment. He gave me a glass of pineapple juice and regaled me with stories of Los Angeles. And that was kind of my view into the larger world. Yeah. And he taught me a lot about design. A lot of the stuff that I do today is still kind of design things that I learned from him.
Yeah. Oh, well, there you go. So you had private lessons. Mm-hmm. Wow. That sounds so fancy.
But I didn't really he didn't even charge my mom. I don't think ever.
Oh, really?
She would just drop me off. He'd give me an assignment. Sometimes I'd take 5 months to complete the assignment. Mm-hmm. So there was no, it was very unstructured and I could have taken better advantage of it, but he was there, just available for when I needed a new project. Yeah. Even into college, I'd still go up and talk to him.
Oh, really? Yeah. Well, that's nice. I mean, that's wonderful when you have those mentors you can go back to over the years. And honestly, they like it too,
And he would, when I was starting to sell in galleries, he would go to the galleries and just look for my work and ask about it. And then if
get buzz about it.
Yeah. And if I had something in there, he'd just rave about it. I mean, he was so supportive. It was really wonderful to have somebody in my corner.
No, that's nice. So the gallerist is like, whoa, we got to put more we got to put more marketing behind this painting because there's interest.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think that was his goal. I think he was just like gushing out of him. And he was just so interested.
Well, he's proud. I mean, and again, it's like in retrospect, I mean, I spent some time as an art teacher. It's like you really get students who are going to really make it in the field so rarely, you know, and you can kind of feel who they are. Like I was saying that thing with Lynn Poulter, he's like, oh, you're probably going to actually do this, you know, and they're just a blessing. I mean, if you're in there to like advance the field and have people navigating this in their life, it's just, you're the guy I'm here for.
Exactly.
You're the one who I wait through all the other stuff. Like, this is a terrible story, but Reese told me this when I was in high school. I was like, oh, Reese, what's it like teaching and stuff? You know, again, I took a few art classes from him and stuff, but I mean, I never took like AP art or like, I have terrible handwriting, as like can show. There we are. It's my handwriting. So it's not like I'm like a drawer. Like I don't have very fine muscular control, but, he said, yeah, I had to have my phone number delisted from the phone book because I had a student get mad at me and he put nails in my tires in my car at home with a nail gun.
Who's Reese said that?
Yeah, that happened to him.
Oh my goodness.
So you can imagine, I mean, really, especially in like a public high school, like the things you have to deal with and then like you get a good student, you know, like,
oh yeah, this is why I'm doing
this. This is why I'm doing this. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. One thing I was wondering for you is, how do you stay motivated? I mean, paint day in, day out painting. I mean, cause it's funny cause it's a lot of people's hobby, but for you, it's like, you know, it's your job and it's your love and it's all these things combined. So what keeps you going?
Well, I don't think I stay motivated minute by minute.
It goes in waves.
There are some days I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to be productive today. But I would say the longer curve is, I mean, I'm motivated to reach career goals. Some of those are financial goals. Some of those are showing goals. You know, I'm motivated to move my gallery into a nicer space. And so I think most immediately is, what do I want to say now? Yeah. And I'm going to put together the show that says that, or that tries to say that. And then the longer term is like, what do I want to do long term with my art? What benchmarks do I want to reach? And I got a long way to go to accomplish what I want to in my art career. So that keeps me motivated. It's just like, what's the next step to get to where I want to go?
That's true. I mean, I think having those incremental goals, like if I made a mistake, like in my career, is my goal when I was in high school, if you had asked me what I'd wanted to do, I would say I'd want to photograph for the Daily Herald, which is like the local paper, like for the rest of my life. And honestly, I was working for them part-time in high school and I really enjoyed it. I was like, well, this is a great job. And honestly, if that's what I did do, I think I would have had a fantastic life, but whatever it is, my talent or whatever led me to like the opposite end of the spectrum of the field. And, you know, that's been really nice, pluses and minuses. But I do think like back in the day, I remember talking to people in my majors and they'd be like, I want to be photographer of Vogue, or like, I mean, just like these really high goals. And I kind of wonder like, what was wrong with like 18-year-old Mark that he was like, nah, I just be fine working the Daily Herald. But I do think that I was happy with the successes I have.
I think it's easy to burn out if you, I mean, or just like, it's hard. I'd say a lot of visual artists that are, you know, painters or whatever, they want to immediately show in the best galleries. And that's fine and great, particularly if you, I read a thing somewhere, and I also talked to another gallerist who confirmed that a large percentage of the artists who get their first really great show in a great gallery just graduated from Yale, right?
Yeah, exactly. Huge.
Like it's a fairly closed system, particularly like the high end contemporary art scene. And so I've kind of taken the opposite approach. Like I'm going to start painting for my neighbors. and kind of grow out from there. Now, will that limit me ultimately from doing some of those big things? It might. I'm still trying to find ways to kind of do those big things, right? But in the meantime, I've been able to make art for 25 years and do it as a living, provide for my family and stuff like that. So that's just kind of the way that I've approached it. I'm going to paint for my neighbors and then expand from there.
Yeah. Well, in a way, actually, I'm reflecting on this because you're right. I think those people who are like, had these really lofty goals and not realizing how like virtually impossible they are to become like these celebrity artists.
Right. I mean, in today's world, the people getting into those programs, not always, but a lot of them are coming from wealth. Their parents their parents have already made huge inroads in those societies and things like that. And so it can be more difficult for an average Joe to come from middle part of the country and make that happen. I'm not saying don't try it. Like maybe that's your destiny.
Yeah.
But there is also this other path of beginning locally.
Well, I think it's a balance. Like, I think it's a balance between like having the courage to try for the next level, to send your work up to the next level or wherever you feel that's where you want to go, but also being just happy with where you're at. Right. Because the people with really high goals, they graduate from school and they're like, wait a minute, I'm not Picasso. I'm done. Like, then that's not even how it went for Picasso. But so having that balance, but you're right. I mean, that's something when I was in graduate school and I would tell people I was from Utah, including the American ambassador to the United Kingdom, who was a major collector who stopped by and had lunch with the American art students there. When I told him I was from Utah, he was like aghast because he was from like LA and I guess he was familiar with people with Utah and he didn't think very highly of them and didn't think they were in visual art. So to have like a Utah in the top art school in the United Kingdom just blew his mind. And, but yeah, anyway, we had a good chat and he was really impressed by me and invited me to the ambassador's residence later. And he was cool, but he was a major, major collector. But like, I do think like the coasts, they're just so used to kind of like getting other talent from the coasts that being from middle America just like shocks them.
Well, and you need people to start buying your work, right? At some point. And for me, that was putting a bunch of paintings up in my parents' house and inviting neighbors over. Yeah. And that's different. It's just a different thing. But if you look back, it's so interesting. I was in New York 2 weeks ago, just going through galleries and what was the gallery? David Schwerner, is that what it's called? They were doing a show of Zwirner, doing a show of works by the Bauhaus artists Albers, both Joseph and Annie Albers, and then also Paul Klee. And I was kind of just listening in to one of the gallerists with a school group and talking about the importance of this show, how these artists are so, like universally admired, like, we learned about these artists in our textbooks and things like that. But back when they were making art in their time, they were just like barely surviving. Like they were just living to make art in their little houses. And it was not about riches or fame or anything. Yeah. And it's so interesting to see that him kind of admire the purity of their intent, while at the same time, this was a show that some of the pieces were for sale for who knows how much money, like, millions and millions of dollars. And so those the motivations have changed for maybe showing their work, but he was still so moved by the purity of intent. It was just interesting to see how the artwork has come such a long way, and that in our contemporary art world, if you really want to be on the forefront, you need to have gone through, you need to have broken into this closed system. Either by going to the number one program in the country, or, having connections and things like that. So,
yeah. Also, I think a lot of people in Middle America, Utah as an example, they're not even aware of this. I wasn't aware. Like, honestly, when I started at the school, I knew it was a good school because I went to their final show and like it was on the front page of the paper and like national paper and stuff. And I was like, but I didn't realize like how important it was to be there.
Yeah.
Like the people you meet and the fact that everybody's watching that program. People are looking for people to come successful out of that program.
Yeah. I mean, and so many programs in Middle America are looking to those programs. So I would say that the program that I went through, one of their main goals was, their hope would be to send somebody to do graduate work in Yale or Pratt or something in order to give them an advantage to become a professor at a college.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, when I'm going to the program, I'm like, I want to stay home and paint paintings and do it kind of for my neighbors. I was a little bit of a fish out of water in terms of the goals of the faculty.
Yeah.
That was my sense.
Yeah. Well, no, I totally can see that. But as far as like, and also another moment, like just being from Utah, again, this was just, it kind of surprised me because like, I don't feel disadvantaged being from Utah. But again, also one of my top art, the best art teacher in our program, who's like super, super famous and so on. Well, I told him from Utah, he's like, wow. I'm like, what? He's like, well, that's more uncommon than being from like New York. I mean, I think he just thought it was cool, like Westerny, but they just never had people from this area of the country in their art program. Again, in retrospect, I think also is like, in New York or in LA and major media markets, it's like you grow up seeing art and you grow up seeing famous artists and you go to openings. Whereas like here, I mean, again, like it's just not like that's like you look at artists and be like, I want to be that person.
Do you maintain a lot of those relationships, and do you collaborate with those people?
Again, it's my eclectic interests in stuff. I keep up with my close friends who are being professional exhibiting artists. Yeah. But again, like, and I, a couple of them one of them passed on, I know them. I mean, and we've exchanged emails and they're aware of me, but again, it partially is my medium, partially it's my interests. It's, I don't know. I have mixed feelings about museum shows. I just like, I'm kind of like, I'm all that work. And then what? 300 people showed up. Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, I think like, yeah. And partially it's my discipline. Like I do think like photography. I mean, like you go to Art Basel, you're going to see a lot of photography and you're going to see photography like mine, but it kind of operates in like a sub market because like, really expensive photographs go for $500,000 or $300,000 or 20 or 10 even, and so it's kind of like the collectors and the market that participates in it is part of the art world. But I think because of the craft discussion, no matter what it is, like the invention of photography changed art schools like completely, and so there's always kind of been a little bit of animosity, and so kind of you end up like it's kind of its own ecosystem. Yeah. Like it's hard. I went to an art show at the Tate Modern, which is like the New York Museum of Modern Art in England. It's like the top museum, one of the top museums in the world.
Yeah, I went there. I was just blown away.
No, it's
the space.
Yeah, it's huge. But they had like a photography show there, and it's a really wonderful show. Again, I didn't realize how many of and they had all the top photographers in that show speak, and they're all these major art photographers. And one that commented is like, is this like the first time the Tate Modern has done a photography show? And I didn't know that. I just showing up to the lectures, and I met every major art photographer in the world who was alive during that lecture series. And, but there's a museum in London called I can't remember, the Photography Gallery or something. And in a way, like that is more my world. Like there's the International Center of Photography in New York. I mean, New York Museum of Modern Art, I was just there last week, has photography exhibits on permanent display, has photography exhibits permanently, but you kind of end up operating in this separate ecosystem that is somewhat distinguishing because curatorially, it's a curator of photography is very rare. For example, in the Mountain West time zone, there is 1 or 2 curators of photography. There's one in Denver, and there was one in Arizona, but I'm not sure if they're there anymore.
Wow.
And so it's just really rare for, and whereas like works on paper and painting, like these people will cross and be kind of a generalist within that, but they really won't have understanding of the photographic medium. So, I mean, this is a very long answer to your question. So the short answer is yes. The long answer is, we have photography and film. We have, in a way, our own ecosystems that are more comfortable for us. And, you know, we like dealing with those people more. Yeah. But, you know, no photographer's going to turn down a show or an exhibit in the New York Museum of Modern Art or the Tate Modern. And honestly, that's why they were able to get such a great lecture series at the Tate Modern, because that was a really big deal for all those major photographers. Yeah. So, as it would be for any painting. Coincidentally, with art, I don't know if when I was young in art, I didn't realize that like if you're seeing something in one of these major museums, you're looking at the pinnacle of the career of one of the top people in their field. Yeah, absolutely. It's not like just another day at the office for them. Like this is something like they're hanging their whole career on. Like I had one solo show in the New York Museum of Modern Art. I've arrived. So you don't need to feel bad if your work isn't as good as theirs. Oh yeah. Yeah.
It's a big world.
Yeah, it's a big world. So anyway, what do you feel is the next level for your work?
The next level. Yeah. Well, I'd like to do some monumental sculpture. So that's one thing. Another thing is I would like to, like I was talking about earlier, expand to a bigger building that can house my gallery and my art school and my studio so that I can work on larger pieces. Yeah. Those are the main things. And I really have had this goal for a while to do some art chapels that are kind of like meditative spaces. It's kind of like, there's the Rothko Chapel in Houston. I don't know if you've been there, but I really want to create some spaces like that where people can come and just meditate, and there's no specific kind of religious underpinning to it. Yeah. Although it may draw from a lot of different traditions. But it's not, strictly speaking, a museum gallery either, right? Like it's kind of got more of the feel of worship to it. Mm-hmm. So I've got a lot of those cooking in my mind right now. No, that'd be great. Yeah, it's just a shame real estate's gotten so expensive. I mean, in Utah, like all of a sudden you're competing with tech companies and so on. Like, right, yeah. When we were growing up, houses here where you could get a pretty good house for $80,000. Yeah. Now it's at least $500,000, probably 1.2. Yeah. I'm going to start small. I've always started small and just kind of grown a little bit. Yeah. That's probably a good way to do it. I've got a one room that I've got right now that I've allocated for my first art chapel. So I just got to put it together. Oh, that's really great. That sounds like a really wonderful project. Thanks. Yeah. You should do a social media channel about your art chapel. I mean, I think great. We'll be putting the word out for sure. No, in fact, actually, I was just on YouTube, and the Smithsonian has done a series, the Smithsonian Museum in Washington, D.C. for visual art. They're doing a series they have a curator standing next to one of their major paintings and just kind of telling about the painting. And it's amazing. It's getting millions of views, each painting. Of course, they've got like some of the best paintings ever created, but it's just, to me, it's amazing to see like visual art getting that kind of audience. And I'm not saying the lighting's not good. It looks like kind of just with an iPhone. Really? And the curators, I mean, they're a little bit dry sometimes, but millions of views. So no. Yeah, I could step up a little bit.
Stand next to your paintings, explain it, or even have a curatorial friend of yours explain it.
I think a lot of people are intimidated and they just can use that like entryway into understanding and appreciating artwork. So,
yeah. Well, also, I mean, a lot of us, a lot of people can't afford to get to Washington, D.C., and lining up curator painting you at Washington, D.C., hard to pull off. But on YouTube, you can get it all at once.
Yeah. Like I was talking about the gallery visit when I was listening in on that, when he's talking to the class, David Zorner. That doesn't usually happen. You just go in and look. Yeah. But to hear some of the thoughts and decisions around the people that are curating is really useful.
Yeah. Oh, this is back in the discussion, but explaining, in fact, I talked at Art Basel, I talked to a gallery that specialized in just photography. And I said, so like, what is your clientele like? What are your collectors like? Like usually their collectors just collected photography. They said if they had people who collected photography from a general painting collection background, they would generally go for the surrealists. So there's like a movement of surrealism in the 1920s, and there's some photographers who did some works, and they're kind of interested in the surrealist movement of photography, but they don't go for the other guys, which is weird. But they also point out within the photography collectors, they don't actually like the surrealists as much. So, I mean, that's just a weird thing in taste, and that's the audience. You can't really control it. Yeah. So in a way, over the years, I've gotten a little tired of trying to show photographs to painting people, Yeah.
Well, it makes sense. I think a lot of collectors have some basis in that discipline themselves, right? Like they may have been photographers, or they may currently be practicing, doing a lot of photography. So and same with painters. People buy paintings because oftentimes they have tried it.
So you find like people who collect painting are often painters themselves?
I think a lot of them are like, they dream of painting.
They're like, I'm an investment banker. It'd be wonderful to paint, but I can buy it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's not, I'm not trying to say that it's your peers. A lot of times your peers aren't.
They don't have any money. That's the truth.
I can't afford my paintings, right? Yeah. So, but I do know a lot of people that are like, I might try painting sometime. When I'm talking to collectors, a lot of times I hear like just little.
You hear bits of that.
Bits of like, yeah, maybe I'll paint.
Interesting.
Sometime. So I think there's I don't know if it's an innate interest or what it is, but just kind of this creative urge. And sometimes people fulfill that urge by collecting.
No, in a way that's easy. I mean, I think it's a wonderful way to fulfill that urge, but also this is like your work can only ever be as good as your audience. What am I trying to say with that? It's that like, I've just noticed that like you can show really good work, but if the audience isn't aware that that's really good work, I mean, for example, I've talked about her before on this podcast, but I had a Mary Ellen Mark, who's a really major photographer, write the forward to my book, and whatever, I'm going to just tell the story, whatever. So, and she asked me, like, I would really like to speak at a university in Utah that I had a lot of connections with. Mm-hmm. And again, like she has had multiple shows in every major museum in the world. She is in the permanent collection of every major museum in the world. She has published 20 books. She has won multiple Guggenheims. I mean, she would have been the most decorated artist to ever speak in Utah, as far as I'm aware. And I went to every connection I had at this university in every capacity that she had been nominated for Academy Award in every capacity. Like, will you have this? I offered to pay all of her expenses. She was going to speak for free, and nobody would have her speak. And I should say her work was also just very rated G. And the thing I came to that is like, geez, if they don't even appreciate Mary Ellen Mark, who like can, like, I mean, I spoke with her at the Reykjavik School of Art, and she's like worshiped like a god, and she's worshiped like a god everywhere she goes. Yeah. If they won't even let her speak for free and there's no other problem, what in the world am I doing? So,
Wow.
I mean, so the audience, so that's where it's good. They're like painters themselves. It means they can appreciate your work better, even if they're, there's a more sophisticated audience.
Yeah. And I think there's just kind of,
Because they're connoisseurs to the point of almost being creators.
yeah. I think there are networks and languages and, I studied at a certain place where certain things are appreciated, certain aesthetic decisions are being made. It's like a whole vibe, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes those networks resist or just don't understand or resonate with voices that come from a different tradition.
Yeah. Or, I mean, I don't know. Anyway, I've thought about that. Like, well, again, and even if even with my own work, like I have one photograph in particular that like completely redid my Vita. Like it was weird. It got into every single show I ever sent it to. And I'd even send other works with it because I didn't like the photograph personally much, but it would always be that one that got in. And it's in a permanent collection of, I think, like 20 museums now. And again, one work completely redid my academic Vita. And that can happen, right? But just to me, the amazing thing is like that work was like so distinct. It could be in fields of thousands of other works and always stand out consistently. But I can show that same photograph to, a lot of other people and they like, it's nothing special. So, I mean, I think that's where it's like worth trying to get your artwork in front of somebody who's seen a lot of artwork, and that's where art teachers can come in handy. I mean, if they're like emotionally well-adjusted and stuff, because they've just seen a lot of student work and they can be like, oh, you did a painting of your best friend. That's really great. I'm glad you like your best friend a lot, but you got to do something more if you want to get to the next level.
Yeah.
Like, because in photography land in Utah, it's pictures of icicles. Because a lot of people come from California and they're up here. They've never seen an icicle before. And so they take a picture of an icicle. But you see a lot of pictures of icicles.
And the salt flats.
Salt flats. Yeah, but salt flats is so surreal. It's hard to take a bad picture there. And they had to do some driving. So you got to count that for something. Old buildings in Utah too. Funny thing is though, if you're teaching in Scotland, nobody photographs old buildings, even though they're everywhere. But old buildings are like a building built in 1920 is really unique here. Whereas there in England or Scotland is nothing.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, I mean, just what stands out, and there's just certain value in seeing a large volume of work. And I think like as an artist, it's like you want to get there as soon as possible. So go to your library and look at everything that's there. So you kind of know the field you're working in. Yeah.
There's value in seeing your own large body of work too. Like when you finally get 20 paintings up on a wall and see them together. Yeah. That's kind of an eye-opening experience. So because then it essentially becomes like an installation, like one work of art, and you see how they interact with each other. And so and you can kind of make plans, to decide where to go from there. Yeah. So that's very valuable. Yeah. So what, we've covered most everything I wanted to talk about. I feel we've had a very good discussion. So anyway, I think we'll just end here unless there's anything else. Is there any question that you wish I'd asked or anything else you want to say? No. I've enjoyed the discussion too. Yeah. Art is so interesting, and it's just some of these, I think the psychology of it is maybe not kind of understood as much or taught as much as it could be. So it's good just to hear people talk about the reality of it. Yeah. No, it's fun to talk, and it's fun to talk to artists. And anyway, like and subscribe. I'm going to say that again. Like and subscribe. Super important. I found the more I mention it, the more it happens. So like and subscribe, and we'll get more of these. And we have a lot of other great interviews. You can check out our back catalog now. We've got like 20 interviews now, so I'm kind of proud of that. Yep. Cool. Anyway, thanks for coming, Kurt. Good talking to you. My pleasure.